this bill needs to be taken back, taken out of this legislature and returned to a part of the process where you consult and you reach out to stakeholders, you reach out to voters, and you find out what is it that we can do to improve our democracy in Alberta, because that's what we are talking about here. I've learned so much from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, the most experienced member of the legislature, on the iterative process of how to bring legislation into the Assembly. And apparently the best way to do it is to write some legislation and then wait for the feedback. It's quite an iterative process, Mr. Speaker. It's been such a learning experience to watch this member in action on the best and highest way to bring legislation into the Assembly for debate. Because what we've seen here is bringing forward legislation that no one expected, and then fierce and very vocal opposition, which, you know, it's been interesting to watch that member with the legislation. I would say from the press conference when it was initially announced, before a constituency break, wasn't sure that the minister was 100% supportive of the legislation, but as we have been asking questions of him throughout the last few weeks, he is more emboldened and more certain that this legislation is the right legislation. But I would ask him to take a step back, look at this very reasoned amendment that we brought forward. Let's take this legislation out. Let's take a breath. Let's look at the legislation, which when we come to the debate of the legislation, I would refer to it as a legislation that's full of the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is good that can be salvaged in this. There is bad or stuff I don't really understand, such as the member from Lacombe-Ponoka. We're talking about voting machines, just not on the radar for my constituents. And there is ugly, where we are getting to the principles of our democracy, and we are challenging the traditions and changing the traditions and creating a more authoritarian province. I'll go to Hanlon's law, the adage, never attribute to malice that which can adequately be explained by thoughtlessness. There are things, perhaps, when the minister brought this legislation forward that were not thought of, that are very good points, that can't just be dealt with in regulation, that need to be dealt with in the legislature and need to be dealt with in legislation. We need to decide, do we want cabinet to have so much power? Do we want to run our province where we have the provincial government trying to control everything, everywhere, all at once? Do we want to have a command and control system in our province? In general, that's not good for business. I come from a background in business and free enterprise, Mr. Speaker, and democracy is core and fundamental to that. It's something that we all came to this Assembly through, something that we have great respect for, but that this legislation does not show any respect for at the municipal level. We want numerous voices in this province. We want to have multiple ideas. We want new ideas. We want innovation. We want municipalities to be entrepreneurial.